products working well together is illegal, and it's more that they feel like they have to do something about this one company having so much power and control in smartphones, which is here it's essentially a commodity. It's just like a thing that everybody has. So I want to leave you with this.
I don't agree.
You remember at the beginning when I talked about how Apple's ridiculously dominant in the US and these crazy numbers, like 90% of young people? The crazy thing is they're super, super popular here, but as I mentioned, they are not a monopoly anywhere else. And
if I want to play my Switch games on my PC, I can't. I can't do it. Can't do it. I can't do it.
Why? Why is that true? How are they so popular here and they're doing all the same stuff in other places, but they're not a monopoly in other places? And so I think of China.
Use emulator. The whole point of this is that it's not, it doesn't work. If you have to hack some shit, and dude, the methods of that it works on your PC are like, you have to be like some sort of hacker god and you like break your shit. Like you have to homebrew your entire system and it becomes like some hacker god.
And for example, China is another huge smartphone market.
Emulators are fucking illegal. Like you cannot just use ROMs. Your device doesn't come with a fucking ROM, motherfucker. Like, you're stupid as brick.
Where WeChat is kind of like this super app. It's a huge thing. Like it's messaging, it's pay. payments. It's also calling a taxi
chat's
and also
fucking
paying your
bugging,
bills
dude.
and ordering food, groceries. Like WeChat is everything. So just as long as your phone has WeChat, then the rest is kind of doesn't really matter. It's up to you. And so in China, there's this incredibly vibrant, innovative landscape of all these smartphone manufacturers competing like crazy, like Huawei, Xiaomi, Oppo, and iPhone is in there too, but they're all just competing ruthlessly with hardware features and with other stuff to try to get your attention to maybe pick their phone. Because it's just what you're into. They all have WeChat. So in a market like that, people will buy your phone based on if it's actually better or not. Meaning there's lots of gardens and very few walls around those gardens.
Yeah, but if the fucking blue bubble and it's encrypted is their program, that's why they buy it. They get to have and keep that, in my opinion, because they make that product, that quality, that desirability. That's what people buy into. If these other guys want to do the same thing with your shit, oh, it's garbage. Oh, well, it is what it is. Make
That's
a better
what
one.
Like what?
Like.
Now, what would be maybe illegal or a wrong thing to do is if WeChat or the makers of WeChat, if Tencent made a phone and then they gave their phone special access to certain parts of WeChat that suddenly no other phone could get, then monopoly. So this lawsuit and all this legal versus illegal stuff, it's mainly just a way to try to poke some holes and get closer to that level of lower walls and more competition.
No, I'm very right. I'm more on the right side of politics when it comes down to economics. Okay, that's what it is.
That makes everybody better. Then we're actually competing on innovation again. But it's something that will be evolving for a long time over time, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. And speaking of things that might take
we're playing Monopoly?
illegal, like you
For
shout
example,
out to
okay, so let me
B-Brand.
give you an example. So, for example, if I was Myron and I got demonetized, this is what taking accountability would look like. Hey guys, yeah, we kind of pushed the line way too far. I did some crazy ass motherfucking content, and it's understandable that YouTube would demonetize me because honestly, we really pushed the line. We were reckless, and it is what it is. Versus what they did is like, we just got demonetized for telling you guys the truth. You know, we were just, YouTube doesn't want the truth, and it's the Matrix. And can you guys please give us money because we're down bad, man. I don't know how we're gonna survive. There's a big difference between those two things.
Okay, yeah, I don't think the latter is like totally like just playing the victim, but I mean you can say that it kind of is. Yeah, I mean it's a part of it. I think that playing the victim implies usually a lot more, and it usually implies a level of like self-induced helplessness that a person has. So, but it's you could call it that, but it's just like I don't know where we draw the line at like playing the victim, I guess.
Well, I think playing victim is like pretty straightforward. It's when you're blaming everything on the outside world and never taking responsibility for how your actions affected what happened. So, for example, like again, just to keep going back on this, if I was Myron and then we got demonetized, me taking accountability or me taking responsibility would look like, hey, listen, yeah, we fucked up. We fucked up. We pushed the YouTube boundaries way too far. We did some crazy content that we shouldn't do, and it is what it is. We're unhappy about it, but it was in large part our fault, if not entirely our fault. Versus what they did was
I don't. So taking accountability in my mind doesn't just mean saying a sentence. That has nothing to do with accountability for me. That's the lowest form of me giving a fuck about anything. I'm just telling you, I don't care. And in the real world and in real life, when you're dealing with things, taking accountability has very little to do with just like saying a sentence or two. In my mind, accountability means that you are aware of the actions of what you're doing, you're aware of harms that might be being caused, and you're doing your best to mitigate those harms without just begging other people to bail you out for it. That's what accountability means to me. If you're saying that like they should have admitted some things on stream, then sure, I can agree with you there. But not admitting something or not doing something like that, that's not enough for me to say, like, oh, you're a victim and you don't take any accountability. It seems like you use accountability in a very cheap way of like, accountability means you go on stream and say, guys, I fucked up. In my mind, accountability means you're doing things to mitigate your fuck ups. That's what I think. But it might just be like, no, you don't agree with me. Don't say that, because you're the only example you're giving over and over and over again is come on stream and say a thing. Can you give me a single other example for what you mean by accountable besides that?
You want like a general example?
Just a single example relating to them for what does it mean to take accountability besides going on stream and saying like, guys, we got demonetized because of what we said.
Yeah, I would say that not begging your audience for money would be an example of taking some level of accountability. What you were talking, like you literally said earlier, begging their audience to bail them out. That's exactly what they did during that stream. Guys, please, I've never seen them beg. It was actually kind of pathetic. Like they were literally begging their audience to bail them out. That's what it came down to.
Okay. I just disagree. I don't have that perspective, I guess.
Did you watch that stream?
Yeah. It feels more to me like, hey, we're not supported here. Like every single person that's ever gotten demonetized from YouTube or every single person that's ever gotten demonetized from a certain platform is like, hey guys, listen, if you support this, like, hey, you know, like check out the Patreon, or if you want to support us here, like go to Rumble. If you want to support us here, like do that. I don't think that is equating to like begging. Like if they were saying some shit like, guys, we're about to lose our apartment, guys, we're about to lose our shit, like we're literally like on the verge of like financial collapse, like we might be broke and poor, we can't do anything, then I'd be like, this is kind of like cringe, this is kind of begging, this is kind of victimizing. But to point out that like, hey, we just lost like a huge revenue stream that was maybe paying us like a huge 6-figure you know, yearly thing, and if you want to support us, go to these other platforms. I don't agree that that's like begging or pleading.
It's much more closer to, it's not exactly that, but it's much more closer to that scenario, the second scenario you described, where they're saying like, guys, please, we're gonna lose our apartment. They were saying like, listen, I don't know how we're gonna keep this podcast going. We need you guys right now to sign up for whatever the fuck it is and pay $5 a month or $10 a month. If you guys want us to make this content, we need you guys to give us money. Please give us money, which is actually one of the reasons the audience is also roasting them, because they're saying in the comments, especially when Myron did that first stream, and he basically went in on his audience like, hey, 12 months ago you're begging us for money, and now you're fucking insulting us. Like, fuck you. Like, their audience even recognized it. It's not just like me from an outside perspective. Their own audience, I've seen many comments where it's like, hey, dude, at first you were begging us for money, and now you're telling us to fuck off.
Well, I don't know. I feel like every time I hear him talk about money, he's like, yo, I've got investments, I've got like real estate, like I'm protected from this, like I'm already gonna get paid or whatever, right? Like, maybe there's a secret super begging stream, or one that I just didn't see, maybe where I'd say like, oh yeah, this more kind of feels like begging. But even at that, begging after getting your channel destroyed, I don't know if I would consider that to be like victimizing or not taking any accountability. But like in my mind, like not taking accountability and victimizing yourself implies not doing anything to better yourself. You're not doing anything to better your situation. You're just sitting around crying, hoping other people bail you out. But that doesn't seem to be the case with them. It seems like they got a new studio, they're bringing on guests, they're still actively working and everything. They got their Rumble deal, like they've streamed multiple platforms. Like it seems like they're still trying to, you know, keep it pushing.
Well, I think you can play victim and then also later on take action. They're not mutually exclusive. You can play victim for a period of time and then take action. So I agree with you that
I don't think, for me, in my mind, victim is a little bit of a it's like a binary. I think you either kind of are a victim or you aren't a victim. That's how I kind of feel about it.
Well, no, you can play victim for a period of time and then you can go ahead and take right action. I mean, have you never had times where something bad happened to you and you play victim for maybe a day or 2 or 3 days?
I don't consider that playing victim. I wouldn't call that ever playing victim. Like if something really bad happens and you like are upset for like a day or two and you're like, fuck guys, I don't know what we're gonna do, but I wouldn't consider that playing victim.
Well, if something bad happens that was directly caused by your actions, and you make it seem like it had nothing to do with your actions, it had to do with this matrix or whatever, how is that not playing victim?
I don't know. When you say playing victim, what do you mean again? What is your definition?
Yeah, so when something bad happens, instead of realizing the role your actions had in making that happen, you blame it on everything and anyone else. So in this case, they were blaming it on YouTube, blaming it on the Matrix, blaming it on SJWs. There was never any, and when they did try to, and also they did something very sneaky, when they did try to take accountability, it was, the reason we got demonetized because we're telling you guys the truth.
Okay, sure. If that's the angle for playing the victim, then yeah, I would say they probably played the victim in terms of like blaming other people too much on, I guess, what happened.
Right, but when you say that's the same thing that's happening in this situation as well?
Yeah, by that definition, yeah, is maybe pointing their fingers at other people. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we're kind of in agreement. What do you think about Myron doxing the girl and trying to get her deported?
What, by doxing you mean like doing her first and last name?
Yeah.
I think doxing is generally always a pretty shitty thing to do. Getting her deported is almost for sure. I'm sure there are some scenarios where I wouldn't care as much, but trying to get somebody deported is also probably always a shitty thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both of the things happened. Like he was actually, I don't know, if he was bragging or just saying that he's going to call immigration and get her deported.
Yeah, for what?
For being an alleged criminal.
Well, is she a criminal?
I mean, it depends on whether you listen to who you believe, the girl or Fresh and Fit. Personally, I think it's entirely possible she's an escort.
I mean, actually, even if she was a criminal, it wouldn't matter, because the only reason he's probably calling it a report is because he doesn't like her. He doesn't want to get out of Fresh and Fit. So I'd say it's probably always a bad thing.
Okay. So let's see. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then we got through the doxing. We kind of disagree, I guess, about the abortion. Another thing that I think pissed off a lot of the YouTube community, including myself, which I found super egregious, was sending false DMCA strikes to people who were criticizing you. Would you acknowledge that's super fucked up?
Yeah, it's always bad to abuse DMCA.
Yeah. Okay, so here's some previous arguments that you've made. So we got through Meet the Parents. You said, okay, here's something you said that's interesting. I don't know if you still believe it or not, but she's just looking for a meal ticket. Do you still believe that?
Yeah, I feel like it feels like the main thing with the kid was getting paid out. That's what it feels like.
But she clearly has money if she's able to spend $15,000 on the drop for a bracelet. Like she has to have a good amount of money, probably like much more than the average person.
Sure, she has income. I don't know how much money she actually has. I don't know. Does she still have that bracelet? Did she take it back and turn it in? I have no idea.
No, I don't think so. I think she still does have it. But
Wait. Do you have any reason to believe that, or any evidence of that, or is that just an emotional?
it's okay. I could this. I'm not. Don't quote me on this because I think I remember in one of the interviews she did where she mentioned she like showed it off. I could be wrong about that, so I'm not gonna stake my whatever. I'm not gonna say that's definitive, but that's just my recollection. I could be wrong about that. But like either way, dropping $15,000 just kind of like on the dot implies you have a good amount of money. I mean, she's able to like what the fuck is she doing right now? Like she's in America. She's probably staying in a nice Airbnb in New York. That shit's not cheap.
Sure, but if you feel like you could get an easy $50,000 or $100,000 from having an abortion, like that's still a nice way to. That's still a nice payday. It's a nice lump sum of money, right?
So there's like two possibilities. Number one is that she deliberately said $1,000 on the drop for a bracelet. Like she has to have a good amount of money, probably like much more than the average person.
Sure, she has income. I don't know how much money she actually has. I don't know. Does she still have that bracelet? Did she take it back and turn it in? I have no idea.
No, I don't think so. I think she still does have it, but whatever. I'm not gonna say that's definitive, but that's just my recollection. I could be wrong about that. But like either way, dropping $15,000 just kind of like on the dot implies you have a good amount of money. I mean, she's able to like what the fuck is she doing right now? Like she's in America. She's probably staying in a nice Airbnb in New York. That shit's not cheap.
Sure, but if you feel like you could get an easy $50,000 or $100,000 from having an abortion, like that's still a nice way to. That's still a nice payday. It's a nice lump sum of money, right?
So there's like two possibilities. Number one is that she deliberately set this up from the start to get a meal ticket, to get money from Fresh. Or number two is she felt really betrayed and hurt, and now she's just looking for revenge.
Well, there's number three is also that she did genuinely like him for a while, and then she did get pregnant, or at least it's seeming to say she got pregnant, and now she's like upset, and so she's like using this as a way to get money for an abortion. Possible. It doesn't have to be planned from the very start. It could have like developed after she got like upset when they broke up.
I agree with everything but the last part. I don't. There's no direct evidence of her using the. I know she said things like I called the lawyer, and he needs to take responsibility. But there's not one message of her asking him for money at all. Nothing like that.
No shit. Of course not. But there's a lot of messages, and there's a lot of in that conversation. There's a lot of her hinting at it heavily, though. But she's not going to say explicitly. That would be the dumbest thing in the world. Can you give me $50,000? But she does say like, "What are you going to do for me?" Like, what is she implying there?
Well, first of all, we have to keep in mind that her English is super broken. But it could be many things. I'm not saying it's impossible that she's using this as a meal ticket. It's just that I think that's making the claim she's just looking for a meal ticket. There's insufficient evidence for that since, number one, she never actually asked him for money. She hinted at, what are you going to do? But I think what you're referring to is what are you going to do to me, which was a safety thing that she was bringing up.
I disagree. I don't think it was a safety thing. I think it was an English thing. I think she meant to say, what are you going to do for me? Because right after that, she clarifies. She's like, how are you going to take responsibility, or how are you going to deal with this, or whatever?
Yeah, so we disagree with that. I actually think she was at that point fishing to get him to say something, because at that point she was already super pissed at him, and she was just fishing to get him to say something. But she asked the wrong question. But she says, "So, what are you going to do to me?" And then he's like, "What? Nothing." And then I think she repeats it one more time. And then when she
doesn't repeat that one more time, she changes to, "What do you like? How are you going to take responsibility or something, or what are you going to do for me or something?" Yeah, but I don't think she ever meant to say, "What are you going to do to me?"
Well, I mean, also, if you go off what she said on multiple streams, even the stream you were on with her, she was talking about like, oh, I don't know what he's going to do to me on other streams. And I agree, all that shit is ridiculous.
Well, wait, I'm trying to remember on my stream. Did she actually say that unprompted, or did she say that in response to Tree asking about it because she heard her say
No, she said it unprompted, and she said on other streams. She said it on Tree's follow-up stream where she said she said this multiple times. Yeah, guys, if I disappear, you know who it is. And then even Tree, who hates Fresh and Fit, was like, yeah, like nothing's going to happen with you, don't worry. She's made that claim multiple times. Whether she's using that to bait him or she's legitimately scared, I don't know. If it was an American girl, I would say pretty definitively she's just trying to bait him or something like that, just saying something dumb. But given the fact that she's from China, where it seems like when people do disappear there and it's much more shady shit happens, it's not unreasonable for her to be concerned about her safety. I think it's stupid, but it's not unreasonable. So in that statement you're asking, she did say initially, I think she did mean like actually about safety, which I agree is dumb because Fresh, despite all his faults, is not a violent person. He's not going to do shit, obviously. But then after that, so that didn't work. Then she says, "So what are you going to do?" I forget her exact wording. I do agree with you that implies maybe financial support, but at the same time, if she's just looking for Fresh to pay child support,
I don't think she's ever looking for child support. She's looking for a payday for the abortion. She's never having that kid. There's no world where that kid is born ever. If she's even pregnant, she's never having that kid.
She did an ultrasound. She did a blood test. I mean, like, what kind of evidence would you like to see? In addition to that, I think the biggest piece of evidence is when she calls Fresh about initially. So, for example, if a girl called me saying that she's pregnant with my baby, I believe she was lying. That would be the first thing I would say. I'd be like, wait, how do you know it's mine? Are you sure? How do you know it's mine? He never questions the pregnancy. He goes along with it. So that means in his mind, he believes that she's pregnant. At the same time, she's also releasing ultrasounds and blood work. She said that I think on Monday she's going to make a video of her at the doctor. I think there's pretty strong evidence that she's pregnant. Whether she's going to keep the baby or not is uncertain. But it's most likely that she's pregnant.
Okay, it's possible. I don't trust anything that comes from her at all at this point, but it's possible, yeah.
Who do you trust more, her or Fresh?
I don't really trust Fresh either, but I'm not relying on Fresh to tell me whether or not she's pregnant or not. It's not like I'm thinking like Fresh. If Fresh was like, I didn't have sex with her at all, it's like, yeah, right. I wouldn't believe Fresh either. But I'm not using Fresh's credibility to deny her credibility, or I'm not using because I believe Fresh, I don't believe her.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're both unreliable narrators, although I would say Fresh and Fit is even more unreliable. But here's the evidence for her being pregnant. Number one, Fresh admitting that he was busting inside of her without protection. That could very easily cause a baby. Number two, the fact that Fresh is capable of getting a woman pregnant. He's not like impotent based on the on the abortion story that he was bragging about. That's number two. Number three is the fact that she released her blood work and her ultrasound. I think when you combine, and number four is the fact that when she was on the phone telling Fresh she's pregnant, he never doubted her at all. So when you combine those four things, I'm not relying here on like something like that she's saying per se. I'm just going off the evidence, which is again, number one, Fresh not questioning the pregnancy. Number two, Fresh busting inside of her. Number three, Fresh being able to get women pregnant. He's not impotent or whatever like that. And number four, the ultrasound, the blood work. I mean, I think that's much more likely than not that she's pregnant. Would you disagree with anything I said?
It's possible, but if she's faking it all of these things are incredibly easy to fake. So, but yeah, I don't know.
But then why would Fresh not question her when she called? Like you would think, okay, let's assume some girl is claiming you got her pregnant, and you know you did not get that girl pregnant, or you have massive doubts, and she calls you like, "Hey, Destiny, we're gonna have a blue-haired child. You got me pregnant." Well, would your initial reaction be like, "Oh fuck, well I want nothing," or would your initial reaction?
It's possible
be like,
that he thinks he did get her pregnant. Like she could be pregnant. I'm just not putting any weight on anything she's producing. It's possible.
What do you think is more likely, that she's pregnant or she's not pregnant?
I'd probably say 51% that she is pregnant. Or at least she was pregnant, that she was pregnant at one point in time. I'd say 51%. I believe probably more likely that she was than wasn't.
Yeah, I think it's more like 80-90% that she's pregnant.
Okay.
I mean, I do agree with you. The baby probably will not be born. It seems like, but also I don't think that in of itself implies malicious intent, because quite often when women get pregnant, they go through fluctuation of emotions. They want to keep it, they want to not keep it. I've heard story after story of like a woman who got pregnant and she was like, it wasn't like, it was by accident, right? She wasn't planning the pregnancy, and they went through waves of emotions. Maybe I'll keep it, maybe I won't keep it, and then maybe they decide to keep it. But it was like, they were really balancing those options. So I think that initially when she got pregnant and Fresh was just like showing her like a lack of empathy and just like basically saying he's gonna be deadbeat dad, I think there was a massive amount of spite. She was like, fuck you. But I think as those emotions wear off and she's starting to realize, oh fuck, like I have to be a mother, I don't think I can manage that because of all the shit I have going on. So I do think it's more likely she's getting an abortion. But just because if she does get an abortion, that doesn't mean that the whole thing was like a setup.
Okay, I think it is. Or it doesn't have to be a setup, but I don't think she's ever, there's no world where she's keeping that child. It's never happening.
What do you think is the chance that she keeps the child?
I don't know, less than 20%, less than 10%. I don't know.
Okay, we're not far off. I think it's like maybe 30%, something like that.
Okay.
We're not that far off. What do you think about the whole, like, this kind of revealed a little bit about the Fresh and Fit dating strategy, and this is actually, none of this is a surprise. If we go off what, did you watch the tree video with Daisy interview, like at the very end?
Nope.
So she was talking about, she basically went out for, I guess, shopping with Myron's girlfriend, and she was revealing that Myron pays for the girl's apartment. And apparently they don't even have sex. I don't know about the having sex part, maybe, maybe not. But the paying for her apartment, giving her a credit card seems extremely, extremely likely, given the fact that Fresh, and specifically Myron, has said in the past that, yeah, like as a man, you got to provide, you got to, that's the main thing. So like when I ask him, what does a guy bring to the table? Providing resources, right? So essentially that means money and paying for shit. And so it seems like they have slightly two different strategies. They both lead with their wallet. They both act like sugar daddies. But I think the one, I guess, positive thing that Myron, one thing we can give Myron credit for is it seems like he doesn't promise the girls the world. Versus Fresh, in addition to being a sugar daddy, in addition to I forget the first thing I said, but he also promises the girl the world. So, what are your thoughts on that dating strategy in general?
I think that I'm obviously as far away from the riffle as possible. I think everything relating to both their dating strategies is terrible and horrible, at least for the type of woman that I want to be up with. Maybe for the type of woman that they're trying to get with, maybe it's better. I don't know. I disagree with everything having to do with dating in that world, though, and everything they say and everything they do. So.
Well, it seems like, Courtney, if you listen to what they say, they want a woman who's traditional, ideally a virgin, a woman who's very maternal. So basically the exact opposite of a sugar baby.
Okay.
Right, but then their strategy is literally designed to attract sugar babies.
Yeah, of course. They're literally going to seeking arrangements to find women. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if there's anything else. I think we covered a lot of shit. Review voice memo. Oh, did you hear the "I'm gonna hurt you" voice memo?
No, what's that?
Okay, so this is revealed. I forget who. I think on Tree Stream. Here, let me quickly pull it up. Okay, here it is. Listen to this. Let me know what you think. Here it is.
All right, here we go. I just realized that I'm gonna hurt you, and it's not fair to you, so I have to end it. And honestly speaking, you deserve a man that's gonna actually do everything for you. But me, I'm gonna hurt you. And I just realized that when you were here, which is not fair to you, was okay, you know what? Before it goes any further, I need time to think about this, because honestly speaking, I'm gonna hurt you, and it's not fair. But also, what's not fair is that you did all that to come here, and I did that to you.
You did that before when.
I mean, that's the crux of it. But essentially, he's taking. Essentially, it's a moment of rare, I guess, consciousness by Fresh. But he's actually literally admitting, I acted really shitty towards you, all that. I mean, essentially, again, self-snitching on himself.
How is it self-snitching?
Okay, that's the wrong word because he didn't do it publicly, so he probably didn't know it was going to come out. It was going to come out publicly, but it's essentially. I mean, he's admitting that his role and his guilt in the situation. He's saying that I'm going to hurt you. It's not fair to you. So he's fully. So I guess the narrative after this whole thing went down was that this girl is just fucking. I was done for nutting inside of her, but everything else than that, she's essentially making it up and she's fishing for attention. And the only mistake Fresh made was being stupid. Versus this voice memo, you clearly hear Fresh saying not only is he stupid, right, which has already been admitted, which everyone